Hey YouTube, I'm coming today to not so much for a video that is entertaining or informative, but more I need help from you guys. I recently decided that I was going to possibly take on a project. I'd like some input from you guys out there regarding this, but I've had a 1966 Ford Bronco U13 VIN that I've had for about 12 years. It's in various states of disrepair, which this video will show. But I'd like some input from you guys on what you might think uh, as far as restoring it. This Bronco's been in my family for a very, very long time. It has sentimental value, but it's been neglected over the years. It was just a kind of an old farm truck that's had a bunch of Frankensteinish um, modifications done to it over the years. I hope that you guys will give me some input on, you know, maybe the approach that you would take with it, given what my end desires would be. Um, and anybody who's interested in this, let me know if it's something that you'd like me to chronicle as I go through the process. It's been sitting out in the barn for a very long time. When I put it there, it was running. Um, it didn't want to stop very well. It's got some steering problems, but it's been undercover in the barn for quite a long time. And when I say it was running, I meant that the engine was turning over. It was working. It wasn't a safe vehicle, which is why I ended up parking it. But it's been under tarp and just kind of wasting away. Um, yeah, as you watch this video, you're going to see things on this Bronco that you may not be able to explain or understand why they were done that way, and so keep your comments keep that in mind when you're commenting, because uh, there's all sorts of things with this Bronco that are wonky, and but I put some air in the tires. They were a couple of them were flat. We pulled it out thanks to my helper, and we loaded it up on a trailer and brought it home. So here I'm going to walk around a little bit. The front bumper's a bit jacked up from just being abused. The front steering linkage and suspension is all suspect. The steering box is shot. When I did drive it the last time, which was years and years ago, it had a bit of I think what they call the Bronco death wobble at about 35 miles an hour. But generally speaking, I don't know exactly how this compares to other Broncos that people have undertaken for projects. Obviously this rocker panel's seen better days, but I mean I feel like most of the undercarriage is in decent shape. Obviously, standard things like bushings and those items obviously need to be replaced. But as far as the rust goes, when I'm looking at it, most all of this is solid, and I think it's just superficial. But you guys may have a different opinion of this. Um, Overall, for what can be seen, I think it's in decent shape, salvageable shape. I know that the floorboards were replaced, at least the driver's side. I can't remember. Floorboards were replaced at one point in time. It had been painted. kind of. The body is in reasonable shape. There's a couple dents here and there, but as far as rust on the body, panels, I think most all of that is salvageable. Now the inner panels, who knows, which is probably the most important part, but I really am taking this video so that I can get some input from some guys who have some experience with this stuff. Some of you may look at this and say, you know what, that thing, it's not worth, it's not worth anything. It needs to be, I don't know, parted out or something. And my hopes is that I get enough input that encourages me enough to undertake this. So my intentions with this Bronco is not to restore it. I'm not looking to restore it to any form of historical accuracy or anything like that. I want a daily driver. I'm not looking to beef it up. A 1-inch body lift maybe, but keep it generally stock. I don't need it to be the jewel of the road. I just want something that I can zip around town, go to the hardware store, go get ice cream with the family, something that's reliable and safe and just interesting. But it doesn't need to be restored accurately. It doesn't need to be restored completely. This would be a summertime vehicle, would not be used in the wintertime. So the top part, that part about having a top isn't critical. I'd like to put in a nice full roll cage. As far as the power plant is concerned, this Bronco, it came with a 170 cubic inch inline 6, and at some point in time, my grandfather swapped it out for a 190 cubic inch inline 6. I don't know the history behind that exactly, but in any event, it's got a Ford 190 cubic inch straight 6, and it runs kind of, there's a problem with the mechanical fuel pump, which I planned on just putting an electric fuel pump in it. Never really got to that point. I was having problems with a whole bunch of fuel issues. The carburetor, I don't know, the accelerator side of the carburetor wasn't working right. It's just a mishmash of wiring and just kind of craziness in general. I rebuilt the front hubs at one point just to really have it sit. But I don't know the condition of a lot of the mechanical stuff. And I don't really have, there's a spring in there from a storm door that pulls my choke back when I unchoke it. There's just all sorts of nutty things. So, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take that engine out, put in a crate motor of some sort, whether it be a 302 or a 351. It's got a 3-speed transmission. I don't want to go too crazy. I don't know. Do I want to take the body off this thing? Do I want to take it down to the frame, sandblast everything? That seems a little bit over my capabilities, which we'll talk about here shortly. So, I'm not an auto mechanic. I don't own a lot of the tools that would be required for this undertaking. I know enough to make it run and replace components and stuff like that. I could get it done with enough time and effort to take it to where I want it to go, but I also lack a lot of the expertise required to do this effectively, which is why I'm making this video and reaching out to you guys. I don't have an engine hoist. I have a 110 gas shielded welder, which I use for things that are not cosmetic. Um, I'm, I'm not bad at using it, but I don't think that it's adequate for some of the stuff that may or may not need to happen on this Bronco. Um, I don't have a big enough air compressor to handle a lot of the tools that would be required for this. Um, so I'm really not tooled for it in general. Um, as far as rebuilding the front end or rebuilding the rear end or rebuilding the transfer case, I don't have a press. I can't press bearings in. I don't know the ins and outs of all of that. There's enough videos and enough information out there that I could do it, but I also don't want to screw it up. So, I don't have a problem farming out a lot of this stuff. Logistics is what really concerns me, and really direction. I have to figure out the direction and then figure out the logistics. At the end of the day, I would be happy driving a mechanically sound Bronco that looks like this Bronco. Yeah, I'd love to paint it. I'd love to redo the interior, and all those things I will do over time. But it's important for when you're commenting to understand kind of the general direction. Yeah, I'd like to have a finished turnkey Bronco um, that's beautiful, but I more importantly want to just have a functional Bronco. The rest of it can come later, but I also don't want to shortchange myself by not doing things now that is going to be more difficult to do later. That's the snowball effect, and trying to figure out the right direction. But so wish list would run something like this. Uh, I don't mind the 6-cylinder engine at all, but what I do mind is fussing with fuel and carburation issues, which just seem to be a nightmare. I don't want a vehicle if I'm going to put the effort into this, I don't want something that I'm going to have to screw around with or get sick of dealing with over time. So my thought is put a new reliable engine in it. Put EFI in it. Uh, the four-wheel drum brakes are fine as long as the vehicle is used often. I think sitting, that's a problem. So I would do at least the front disc brake conversion. I would do power steering, power brakes, power steering, upgrade, and and obviously a roll bar as far as that goes. And as far as steering and all that goes, replace all the tie rods and the drag links, and it's not a big deal to replace just about all of that stuff. But when it comes to like replacing a knuckle or something like that, I don't know if it's necessary or needed. Again, if I was going to take it down and really work on the frame and dress it up, then I'd be willing to spend that money. But I don't know. I don't know if it's needed or necessary. I mean, given all that information and the amount of times that I've just said that I don't know, and telling you that I've got a fair amount of tools, but I don't have a lot of the important tools. I guess I'm hoping that given just the small amount of information that I've given you, you might be able to help me figure out what to do. And I may get just 1,000 different responses on this that says, uh, you know, there's 1,000 different ways, and I'll be at square one again. But the purpose of this video is so a lot of you guys can see what it is that I've got, what I'm working with, kind of understand, the situation, kind of somewhat what the end goal is going to be, or maybe I don't know. I don't even know what the end goal is going to be. So, I mean, good luck. Again, this is not going to be a show car. I'm never going to take it to a show. I don't really care what anyone thinks about it. I just want, something that's I can hit the key and it starts and I can drive it. Um, so keep that in mind, and ease. I want to make it easy. Um, so putting in some, I don't even know because I don't even know much about this stuff, but putting in some crazy fancy engine that would make it all cool and wonderful, but requires me to chop everything up. That it's not even in the cards. Not even worth it to discuss. So we're looking for simple. I hope this isn't an enormous waste of time, but I hope you guys have some input. I'm really interested in hearing good quality suggestions. Um, if you don't have anything constructive to say, then just don't say it. I don't I don't do this channel or this YouTube thing for uh, any sort of financial gain or anything. It's just really a collaboration of people that have similar interests in various things, whether it be this Bronco project, which I may undertake, um, or the other things that we do on our channel. So uh, yeah, keep that in mind and be friendly. So I'm interested in your guys' thoughts. So let me know what you think, and we'll see where this takes us. All right, cheers.